welcome back to the Sarai Show. Today we're diving into a heavy but important topic. If you've been keeping up or you've seen some of the previous videos I've posted, you know I recently posted 2 short videos on TikTok and YouTube Shorts about how we can support our immigrant loved ones. That's what one was about, and then the other one was just about immigrant rights. On TikTok, the response was incredible. So much love, support, and kindness. It reminded me why I wanted to do this. But on YouTube, the reaction was, let's just say, less than kind. Comments like, why don't you support America instead? Or if you care about immigrants so much, buy them a ticket, send them back home where they came from or where they belong. It was disheartening. But honestly, it was not surprising at all. These kinds of views they're rooted in ignorance about history, responsibility, and how interconnected the world actually is. So people that are in denial. So today I'm going to break down why these comments are wrong, explain the bigger picture of the United States' role in creating some of the very conditions that immigrants are fleeing from, and share how we can handle these attitudes both online and in real life. It's a lot harder in real life than it is online, but still. So let's start with why these views are wrong. So in order to explain that, I was thinking of this analogy as I was showering, and I kind of want to share it with you. So let me start with the analogy to kind of put things into perspective. So imagine you have a neighbor, and years ago, that neighbor came over to your house, wrecked your garden, stole some of your tools maybe, and left your yard in complete chaos. So now, years later, you're struggling to fix what they destroyed. So in order for you to survive from all of this and recover, you start doing things they disapprove of, and maybe things that are not completely legal. Maybe you cut through their yard to get to work faster, or maybe you take some of those tools back that they steal from you to get by. And suddenly that neighbor starts complaining, and they call the cops and they get courts involved. They say, why are you messing with my yard? Why don't you take care of your own property and follow the law? Well, conveniently in your head, you're thinking, well, have they forgotten how they wrecked your garden in the first place? They act like your problems have nothing to do with when in reality, they're the reason you're in this mess, or they're a big part of the reason that you are in this mess. So this is exactly how the United States has treated many countries. For decades, the U.S. has interfered in other nations through coups, wars, and economic exploitation, leaving these countries in disarray. It doesn't apply everywhere, but it does in a lot of cases. And when people from those countries come here seeking safety and opportunity, we hear, why don't they fix their own country? Why are they our problem? So it's hypocritical, it's dismissive, and it's rooted in a lack of accountability that's just laughable. So that's what I wanted to share, most importantly, and before anything else. Now, let's move from that analogy to reality. Here are some examples of how the U.S. has contributed to the instability people are fleeing that we still see today. These are just some of the most recent ones. Central America. The U.S. has a long history of meddling in Central American politics. In Guatemala, for example, the U.S. supported a coup in 1954 to protect American business interests. And you might say, well, that was a long time ago. Well, that coup led to decades of civil war, violence, and instability, conditions that still push people to migrate today. And there are many examples in Central America, but there's also Iraq and Afghanistan. The U.S. has spent decades intervening in the Middle East. often leaving behind chaos and destruction. So these wars have displaced millions of people, many of whom are now refugees, and we continue to see migrating to different countries. Haiti, the U.S. has repeatedly interfered in Haiti's politics and economy, supporting corrupt leaders and exploiting the country's resources. After the earthquake in 2010, much of the promised aid was mismanaged, leaving the people in Haiti to bear the brunt of the disaster basically alone. So, yeah, these are just a few examples, but the pattern is clear. It's been there historically. The U.S. has played a significant role in creating the conditions that force people to flee their homes. And I hate to say that. I am an American. I was born in the United States. I have served my country. I'm a veteran, but that is just the reality, right? So I can't live in denial. When people say things like, why should we care about their problems or focus on America first? They're ignoring how deeply interconnected the world actually is. Here's the reality. When the U.S. destabilizes another country, it creates a ripple effect. It creates ripple effects that don't stop at the country's borders. Refugee crisis, economic instability, and violence, they often spread, and they affect us too. Supporting immigrants doesn't mean you're neglecting Americans. Immigrants contribute to our economy. They fill labor shortages. They enrich our communities in many ways, and we've all seen that. Saying their problems are not our problem is not only ignorant, it's irresponsible. In many cases, their problems are our problems because we helped create them. So, now, let's talk about dealing with the backlash, or if you've ever spoken to support immigrants, in support of immigrants. Online, it's simple. Just delete, block, and move on, right? That's what I did. Arguing with someone who's committed to misunderstanding you is it's like shouting into a void, right? So save your energy for people who are willing to listen and learn. But in real life, that's where things get a little more complicated because it's got actual consequences, right? If you're at work or people you will continue to see. So it's tricky. When someone says something hurtful or ignorant to your face, here is how I recommend handling it and what I have tried over the years, because I have family and friends and, live in Texas. So this is very common view. Stay calm. It's tempting to clap back, but reacting emotionally can escalate the situation. Take a deep breath and respond. Stay composed. Lead with facts. Use the examples I talked about just earlier. Maybe say something like, I understand why you might feel this way, but did you know the U.S. has a history of interfering in other countries? Many of the challenges immigrants face are connected to that history. But another thing is just ask questions. Sometimes the best way to shift someone's perspective is to make them think critically. Sometimes they just won't do that on their own. So, for example, what would you do if your family was in danger and staying wasn't an option? Wouldn't you try to find safety too? So those are just little examples, and I know they might not feel like much, which brings me to the next subject, which is just know when to walk away. Not every conversation is going to be productive. If someone is closed off to new ideas and they're just like coming in with their hate and they're very strong about it, just say, I see we're not going to agree, but I hope you'll think about what I've shared. Then just walk away. Like there's only so much you can do, and that's fine too. Protect your peace. But to everyone out there who actually supports immigrant rights, keep going. Your voice matters. here's what I want you to remember, those who support immigrant rights. These are just very important things to keep in mind and advocate for. Supporting immigrants doesn't take away from Americans. It strengthens our economy and communities. So yes, you are patriotic. Many immigrants are here because they're fleeing situations the United States played a role in creating. So acknowledging that history is part of taking responsibility. That is not a bad thing. Standing up for immigrants is about compassion. It's about humanity and justice. And those are values worth fighting for. I don't understand why people struggle with that concept. That's, I don't know, mind-boggling. But anyways, that's it for today's episode of The Sarai Show. Thank you for letting me share this with you. To everyone who's standing up for immigrant rights, thank you very much. And to those who might disagree, I hope this gave you something to think about. Please don't leave hate in comments. If this message resonated with you, share it, start a conversation. And just remember, kindness and compassion are never wasted. So I'll see you guys in the next episode. Oh, and protect your peace.